So we have a very weird fight on our hands here with, and this name's actually mistranslated, TM Dragion comes from the Japanese name of the Reverie. Trauma Ray, which is kind of, I think, like the German word that means something kind of like Reverie. It's sort of a dreamlike state. And by the way, yeah, the name Reverie makes so much more sense now. But yeah, it should have been Reverie Dragion, but this is Ouroboros' mass-produced version of the Reverie, and I believe Clockdown works on it, I think? Well, I guess only one way to find out. So, yeah, like I said, very weird fight. I don't know why they really threw another boss battle at you, but I think it's kind of an opportunity to build up your CP a little bit after the fight with Luve before, because it's almost certain that you will be out of CP, by this point. Now, just like the original... Oh, it's not doing it, okay. This thing can use AA Canceller to cancel your casting. I'm very surprised it didn't go for it there, but, okay, good, speed down does work. Now, let's get to hear this song again. Final boss theme from the first game. Why not just go for Zodiac here? It'd be better if it buffed ATS, but there aren't actually any ATS buffs in this game, I think. Not that you really need them. So while we're doing this fight, I thought I might as well go ahead and talk a little bit about Luve Monogatari, the manga that was released as a bit of a supplement to this game. I think it came out quite a bit after these games came out. It's basically events from immediately before and then during FC and SC from Luve's perspective. It's pretty interesting to get a chance to see his particular perspective on event, like his side of the story. Particularly, you get to see the Hamel incident from his perspective. So yeah, I will warn you that does actually depict the attempted assault on Karen. It's not really graphic, but it's definitely more graphic than how it is in the game. So just as a warning, you might want to be ready for that. It's quite early in the manga. And it also shows a few things that happened immediately after the Hamel incidents. Because afterwards, Luve went with Joshua to, like, the Erebonian authorities, like part of the Erebonian army, to actually explain what had happened. And this is pretty much tying into why, yeah, he lost his faith in a lot of things. What ended up happening was that they told him, okay, not only are we not going to do anything about this, but you two just came right before us and told us you're the last remaining survivors of that incident. So, we could have you killed anytime we want. So, think about that before you go telling that to anyone else. Goodbye. So, that's what happened when they tried to tell the Erebonian army about that. So you can understand why he lost his faith in humanity. I'm incredibly surprised this thing hasn't gone for AA Canceller. Another interesting thing is that Luve was extremely conflicted about working with Colonel Richard for the coup. And it makes sense, because, like, he must have seen a lot of the Erebonian warhawks in Colonel Richard and what he was doing. He must have known that what he was doing would have led to war and possibly another war with Erebonia, and he was just very, very uncomfortable with the whole thing. And he never really showed that back when we saw him in FC. So that's an interesting thing to know. Another thing is, the fight with Agate, I'm jumping ahead a bit, with Ragnar. So the reason why Luve was so determined to fight Agate there is because he saw a lot of his past self in Agate. To him, Agate is what he was right after he lost Karen. And he despises his past self, not really realizing that his present self hasn't become much better. So by fighting Agate, he was basically literally killing the memory of what he thought was his old weakness, which is interesting. But also interesting is that when Tina threw herself in front of Agate to protect him, that directly brought back images of Karen protecting Joshua. And that's part of why what Tita did made such an impression on him. After that, though, Luve Monogatari, the third volume is, in my opinion, the weakest of them, because it's really just straight adaptations of scenes from the game. You basically just get a word-for-word version of the Joshua versus Luve fight that happened in the previous video. I love how you can still see the wreckage of the Reverie there. And no music. And, like, to be honest, they don't even do a lot good with the visual media there. The only real action scene that gets adapted in the manga is the tournament in Grand Cell from FC, weirdly enough. So in the end, I'm not really sure what to feel about The Tale of Luve. I honestly think that it might have worked better as a short, light novel than as a manga. Because it's really more about getting a look inside Luve's head and his own, like, mentality and his motivations. And, yeah, really, that's just, you can do that in pure text. They don't really do enough with the visual medium to justify it being a manga, in my opinion. Like, say what you will about the bland protagonists of, I guess I'll keep talking while I charge everyone's CP up with tomato sandwiches. Say what you will about the bland protagonists in the Fire Emblem Champion Sword manga, but at least that one actually had some pretty cool shonen-style action scenes. You don't really get that in Luve Monogatari, sadly, and the fight, like, between him and Joshua was the perfect chance to have one of those, but really it's just them talking in the manga. There are also a few kind of spoilers in that. It does show an Anguis who we haven't actually met yet, so just be warned, there are some very minor spoilers for later arcs. And it also spoils a few more things from this game. Seriously, don't read it until after you beat SC at least. But with that tangent out of the way, I guess I can talk about these things. So, in a complete instance of mood whiplash, Fate of the Fairy still plays when you fight these. Would it have been, like, they could have easily just disabled the battle theme for this section. It would have just aided the atmosphere, but I know why these things exist. From here on, you can't go back to the surface of the tower. These are your only chance to level up if you end up having too hard of a time with the final bosses. So, totally understand why the developers put these enemies here, and I do applaud them for it. So, the one thing we have to decide before going forward is who gets that last gladiator belt. And, okay, so you have a Grail Locket. It would be kind of interesting for Kevin to have that, because it would mean more Grail Spheres, but on the other hand, Estelle might actually not do too badly with it either, for just massive spam of single-target S-breaks. Because honestly, I'm okay with this setup on Chloe right now, but it requires one of my Grail Lockets. I should mention you want to be protected from Confuse going forward. It does give a plus 10 strength, so I feel like I might as well give it to Estelle here. I think I'm okay on other items. Let's head forward. We're almost there. Yeah, we know that from having read the data crystals. And we're looking right at the source of what happened. Now we see why they call it the Shining Ring. They sold it away because they kind of broke it and caused it to gain sentience, which resulted in them all losing their lives, basically. In other words, one of the 7 elements in this game. This is something that I alluded to a little bit earlier. The Liber Arc is only one aspect of ancient Zemuria. There are 6 more societies like that, that still have left remnants on the current world. That's the part that wasn't told to us in the data crystals. But it's not really hard to imagine that kind of thing happening. Yeah, it was basically just a computer, just a rudimentary AI that really only knew to keep doing what it thought that people wanted it to do. One of those being the final boss of FC. It got stuck down there when the seal happened, and that's why we had to fight it. And considering there aren't any people here, it seems like everyone was able to evacuate before the place was sealed. You kind of contradicted yourself because you said that this place was also a nest of suffering when they were under the Oriole's influence, so it's not like much really was different. There's always suffering, but otherwise known as exactly what happened the last time this thing was activated. Yeah, they're really the same thing in the end. Although, weirdly enough, he's describing what are essentially the extreme ends of the SMT lore and chaos alignments. Oh yeah, because you're the paragon of that, aren't you? Oh yeah, and of course, you consider yourself the paragon of that as well. He wants to do that knowing full well what happened the last time this thing tried to influence people's minds. This line is just kind of funny because, you know, that's exactly what you are. That's kind of what Luve was getting at. And again, you are exactly the authority to do that, aren't you? You know, someone who molded a traumatized child into a mindless assassin just for the purposes of science. Someone who brainwashed an ancient dragon into destroying a city just for research purposes. Yeah, you definitely know what's best for humanity, don't you? Yeah, Estelle says what we're all thinking. In a way, that's kind of what he made Joshua into, but we've seen what that was. Yeah, blah blah blah, mankind, blah blah, yeah, we don't care. That's something that I've always believed. Humans are not flawless, perfect, rational beings. We're actually incredibly irrational when it comes down to it, but we all have the potential to change and grow with our experiences and to realize our mistakes. That's the thing, is that the way that Weissmann is talking about things, he just kind of turned everyone into machines. Nobody would be really alive, just like they weren't under the Aureole in a way. I mean, we saw everyone come together during the crisis. The Ravens helped out Ruin when Orbital Power was out. Yeah, what the Aureole was doing is it was trapping everyone in their own kind of individual world with no interaction between anyone else. Yeah, unfortunately Chloe's dialogue here is not the best. Olivier doesn't really have that much extra to offer either. It's mostly Estelle's show here. Well, no. We have proof that people were able to rebuild and move on after the 100 Days War. Yeah, Estelle's accomplished great things. People are able to move on from these tragedies. And yeah, Weissman, if you think war is so bad, why the hell are you going around causing it? We got through your orbital shutdown phenomenon. We got through everything you threw at us. We finally know where Joshua learned that technique from. Yep, remember when he got Kevin to take him aside for about 30 minutes? This is what that was all about. And this is actually why I brought Kevin to this whole segment. Kevin's extremely important to what's going on here. But remember, Kevin knows all about these mental techniques that Weissmann's using. He was the perfect one to formulate a plan against it. And I love all these burns that he gets in this scene. Wait a minute, okay, there was someone else involved in this? Yes, who else but him? Once again, Cassius Bright saves the day even though he's not even here. This is what that letter was all about. Yeah, to fool your enemies, you have to fool your friends. Weissmann was completely wrong. Joshua did go to someone about this issue. Joshua did get help from his friends here. He just had to delay telling the rest of us about it. And this is what I love about this outcome here. It just proves that the two things that Weissmann thinks are necessary for humanity, flawless rationality and intelligence, are things that he lacks entirely. He had no idea he was being outplayed this whole time. And here's the other thing that I love. Yeah, Weissmann was brought down by him simply being such a scumbag that they knew the one thing he could not resist would be brainwashing Joshua into killing Estelle. And so, Kevin put a counter-hypnosis in him, saying that if Weissmann ever ordered him to do that, it would break it. I'm sorry, Joshua's already advanced, Joshua in ways far beyond what you'd even imagine. Joshua isn't going to accept a personality or destiny forced on him ever again. He's found his own path now. Oh, I'm sorry, but he already has one. Her name's Estelle. So, after all this time, we're finally ready to make this guy pay for everything he's done. Weissmann is immune to debuffing though, so Orbital Down and Clock Down aren't going to help here. But his support isn't. He's accompanied by these combat shells, a term you might actually be familiar with if you played Cold Steel. I'll just say, this is where that term originated. For now, we're going to focus on buffing ourselves, because, okay, there's a bit of an interesting thing that Weissman can do, and he likes to do it very, very early into the fight. But I can get Zodiac in at least, and then I can probably go for Grail Sphere. I'll just say that arts are actually questionably useful in this battle in general. Physical attacks are overall better, which kind of actually works because Weissman himself is kind of more of a magic user than a physical attacker, so he's actually kind of vulnerable to physical attacks. And his ATS stat is actually one of the highest among the bosses we've seen. I think I'll go for, yep, that on you right now. Okay, I've got to turn on Joshua here. But yeah, Joshua's CP is kind of down thanks to being absent from the party for a little bit, but he's now back. Okay, let's go ahead and do this, and then I'm going to have to go for Estelle. The problem with Joshua leaving the party is it actually... Oh, you're doing that already? Okay, then.
How does that...
By the way, that attack is terrifying. Yeah, but I'm gonna make you pay for that by whacking with this, and then I'll use this. What I was saying is that the party being rearranged due to Joshua leaving, it actually messes up my S-Craft shortcuts, so I have to remember that Kevin is on right analog stick right, rather than right analog stick down like it used to be. And Joshua is now on right analog stick left. So, like, yeah, as you can see, Weissmann's actually really, really fragile.
I hold in my hand the chalice of heaven. May its holiest of light act as our shield.
Now let's Grail Sphere up. He hasn't actually set up that thing that he can do. I guess I'll say it now. So he can actually create a barrier that blocks arts and only arts on his entire party. And unlike Earthguard, this one doesn't go away when you hit it. You actually just have to wait it out. There's no other option. So that can make arts a little bit, of a liability in this battle. It also blocks debuffs like Orbital Down, so... yeah, but let's see. Wow, he's already actually getting pretty low. I think I might be able to get heal. If not, I can use an S-Break with Chloe, but let's just say you might not want to use all of your CP in this fight. I mean, you can probably tell that, yeah. I mean, what RPG final boss is, gonna just be one phase, let's be real. Haven't actually shown this yet, so I might as well. These things remind me of the weather seeds from earlier. They're kind of like artificial versions of those things. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure most of his attacks are arts-based. He can also use, I think, Evil Eye to delay you, and Dark Matter EX, which he can just use with no cast time, because for him it's basically a craft, not an art, which is totally fair, right? Okay, let's get this up, because Josh was probably a little far away for Earth Wall. The combat shells do tend to go down pretty quickly to, basically, Joshua's, I was about to say True Black Fang, but yeah, I meant, to Joshua's S-Craft. Okay, we're Earth-guarded. Some of us are not speed buffed, so... should I fix that, or should I just... Because part of me wants to just go for a big AoE attack before he has a chance to do something bad. Alright, if I do that, I could actually waste... but... Yeah, I'm just gonna go for this. Hopefully, he does not end up going for the barrier, but he might. Yep, there it is. I had a feeling he'd do that. So, Chloe just kind of wasted her turn. Kind of interesting how Arts Guard and Craft Guard exist as separate statuses, but the only enemies that really use them in either of the Sky games are the final bosses. Because I think Reverie had something like this. Sometimes Weissmann's AI goes, like, weirdly derps out and he decides to, just teleport all over the place for no real reason. Yeah, not really sure why he does that, but, I guess you can just use this turn to charge up your CP a little bit. Yeah, these things do have kind of, annoyingly long animations, which can easily get disorienting if you speed them up. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to take this crit turn with Joshua, but, first, I'm gonna just, like, this is kind of pointless, but I still want to just hard break him in the face. And yeah, right analog stick, left for Joshua. I love the detail that the Ouroboros logo doesn't shatter when, like, Brainwash Joshua is using this. Did that do it? I think that actually did it. But, yeah, the combat shells are still up, which is a little bit, kind of anticlimactic that we've already dealt with him, but we just have to take out his backup, but, well, I don't know, let's just make the most of this while we can. Being an Anguis, Weissmann doesn't really have any kind of tarot symbolism that I can talk about, so instead I might as well talk a little bit about Luve's symbolism, because you'd think that he would be the Emperor, but actually he's the Priestess Arcana, though it makes a bit more sense for him than you'd think it would. Priestess can represent, like, forbidden knowledge and secrets, and that definitely ties in with the whole Hummel incident. It also can represent, like, acting without really thinking things through, which is definitely something that Luve was doing a few times. His name also, as well, is actually kind of another thing that I wanted to talk about for a little bit. So, in Japanese, if you've listened to the voice acting earlier, you would definitely hear that it's, said as Leve in Japanese. But that is definitely not, like, wow, that barrier is still up. That is kind of a pain. But yeah, that's definitely not, like, how the word is actually pronounced in German. But, so this is a bit of a weird tangent, but, in the Japanese version of Fire Emblem Three Houses, all of the house names are written in katakana as German words, and the Blue Lions is written as Löwenklasse, or Lion Class, but it's actually written Löwen there, like it should be, not like Leven. So part of me wonders if, like, Luve's Japanese name was a typo that just ended up sticking? Or if they decided, you know, it's short for Lenhart, the Le part should be in there, but... Anyway, we've got through... Well, you can probably tell, that's not the end of this. That was only the initial experiments. That pretty much sums up just what's great about a lot of villains like Weissmann, that moment where they realize they're screwed. Of course, what's dangerous about that is that's usually the point where they start to lose all sense of restraint and just go all out. And do things that they probably wouldn't consider doing if they were acting more rationally. Again, Weissmann contradicting himself, he is nowhere near the peerless paragon of rationality that he thinks he is.